it's a problem that crosses all racial lines. In August 1993, the residents of Davenport, Iowa were shocked not only by a senseless gang murder, but by the identities of the perpetrators, all white sons of the heartland. 17-year-old Michelle Jensen was a National Honor Roll student at Central High. On August 29th, police discovered her body along a dusty rural road.
Michelle was found laying face down on the gravel road with a large wound to the back of her head that were later discovered was caused by a shotgun blast.
Earlier that evening, Michelle had attended a party at the home of Tony Hoyk. Hoyk and 5 of his friends belonged to a gang called the Vice Lords. They modeled themselves after one of Chicago's oldest black street gangs with the same name.
2 of the individuals had tattoos on the inside of their middle finger when they would, what we call, throw the sign of the Vice Lords to make the VL sign. Suddenly those 2 letters become visible.
Unlike the New York boys or Born to Kill, the Davenport Vice Lords did not terrorize a neighborhood or extort protection money. Instead, they would meet in Tony Hoyk's bedroom, decorated with gang graffiti. According to police, they were plotting to rob convenience stores and then use the money to start a drug ring. Michelle was friendly with the gang members, especially Jason Means. In fact, a month before the murder, Jason had joined Michelle's family on a 5-day camping trip. Prosecutors would later argue that Michelle became an unwitting pawn in the gang's robbery schemes. For one simple reason, the gang needed a getaway car, and Michelle had a car. On the night of August 28th, Michelle attended a party with the gang members. Michelle, encouraged by the gang, drank heavily. The gang demanded that the 17-year-old let them use her car. Michelle refused. Hoyk, who was grooming himself to be the gang leader, told one of the Vice Lords, Chris Felgenhauer, to attack Michelle.
Hoyk instructed Felgenhauer to hit her in the head with the most convenient object, which was his table fan, and he just handed it to him and said, "Hit her."
At one point, according to gang members, Tony's mother went upstairs to the bedroom and told her son to get Michelle out of the house because she was too drunk. Jason Means and Justin Volkers were selected to drive her home in her car. The boys took their shotgun.
It's our belief that they just stopped in the middle of the road on Chapel Hill Road, allegedly to tell her that they had to take a bathroom break. They got out of the car. She got out and was going to leave them and walk back to town. And that she, in fact, she turned and started to walk when Justin Volkers stopped her with the gun, got her on the ground, and then in fact shot her.
A killing which even the victim's mother could only explain as the result of gang mentality.
Because they wanted to belong to something so badly that they were willing to kill, because they weren't getting that belonging or that needing from their parents.
All 6 of these kids grew up, except Tony Hoyk. 5 of the 6 kids grew up without a father.
After the shooting, Justin and Jason met the others and, according to gang members, said they had taken care of business. The group later returned to Michelle's body to scavenge for money. When they arrived, the police were already at the murder scene, so the 6 went home without even attempting to conceal their tracks or the stolen car.
They were extremely inept in that Michelle's body was left laying on a roadway where it could be easily observed. Her car was parked in the garage of one of the suspects. They did not even, try and move it to another location. The murder weapon was not disposed of. They didn't have a story to account for their whereabouts.
Within 8 hours, police had all 6 gang members in custody. 8 months later, at their trial in May 1994, Justin Volkers faced first-degree murder as the trigger man. Tony Hoyk and Jason Means, second-degree murder. All 6 were charged with kidnapping, robbery, and criminal gang participation.
The fact that we pursued the gang affiliation as a very strong part of it, I think should indicate to those people that we're just not going to tolerate it.
SHAWN, SHEWMAKE, Joe Hager, and Chris Felgenhauer pleaded guilty to the lesser charges. Each was sentenced to 50 years in prison and agreed to testify for the prosecution. In his testimony, SHEWMAKE used the gang term capped to mean killed.
Justin Volkers told me that he had captured him.
That was all his words?
Pretty much.
Gang member Joe Hager told the jury what Justin told him happened on the night of the murder.
He said after he shot her in the back of the head, she fell down to her knees and then just fell over. And while that was going on, Jason sat in the car and watched it. He was playing with the radio.
According to Hager, Justin and Jason both watched Michelle die.
They said blood was like running out of her head like a river.
The defense claimed that the gun had gone off by accident. The prosecution called a firearms expert to refute the claim.
This particular gun requires 4 pounds of pressure to be applied to the trigger before the gun will discharge.
The trial lasted 10 days. All 3 defendants were convicted on the kidnapping, gang participation, and robbery charges. Jason Means and Tony Hoyt also guilty of second-degree murder. The trigger man, Justin Volkers, guilty of first-degree murder. All 3 were sentenced to life in prison.
I hereby sentence you to be imprisoned at hard labor for the term of your natural life.
We don't have the death penalty in Iowa, so they can sit and rot a while.
After their sentencing, Justin Volkers and Jason Means were asked about life in the gang.
I don't think it's worth it. I think it's